Which is more important? Peak experiences that take us so high, or a daily practice that allows us to crystallize small change over time? When people talk to me about my experiences in the ashram, the question always comes up if they should do something similar or if they should go on a retreat. And I have to be honest that normally my answer is no. I don't feel it's necessary, and I don't even feel it is the most effective and harmonious way to transform. So I'm going to share with you my experience of living like a Buddhist monk for 9 days and what that taught me about the importance of daily practice. Welcome to Nervous System Reset. Today I'll be sharing the story of my first real deep spiritual experience as an adult without any kind of assistance from chemicals, whether that be from drugs, psychedelics, or plant medicine. And the scene is in Thailand, almost 1 year before I went to live in the ashram. I had gone to Thailand to study Thai massage as I was traveling a lot at this time, and I wanted to have a side hustle that I could do while working as a nurse in Australia, but also something that I could do when I was traveling. And I had a deep interest in massage, a deep interest in, learning about the body. One of my favorite subjects when I was studying nursing was anatomy and physiology. And I had been told that I had a very nice and strong touch. So it made sense to go to Thailand and learn this. Now, at the same time that I was studying Thai massage, my main hobbies were really drinking and getting into trouble. And so that's what I was doing. And my teacher had told me, I studied in a temple in Thailand. Sometimes there's a massage shop connected to the temple. And my teacher had told me that the secret to being a good masseur and the key to inner power was meditation. And so I had started dabbling, doing 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, as well as sometimes doing a little bit of yoga here and there, but really I wasn't so focused on it. Through a series of events, which I won't unfold here, I ended up being invited to spend 9 days living in a forest temple, so a kind of Buddhist temple, which was a man-made forest in the middle of the city, and to live like a monk. Essentially in Thailand, in Thai Buddhism, they have the monks who shave their head and take vows, and then they have people who dress in white who come to live like a monk, either just to have a kind of retreat or as preparation for becoming a full-on monk. And Buddhism and monkhood is so ingrained in Thai society that every male is expected to spend some time as a monk. It's just part of the culture there. So now we've set the scene. I'm there in this Buddhist temple. We're waking up at 4 a.m. to do our first meditation. After that, we're walking through the streets barefoot, collecting offerings from the people around. Thais are very devout, so everybody comes out into the street to offer food to the monks. And then we come back. The food is prepared while we do more meditation. We eat our only meal for the day, more meditation. We go into the forest temple and sweep the leaves from the paths, which you can imagine in a man-made forest, there's quite a number of leaves in the paths. And then we do more meditation. We finish early so that we can get an early night, so that we can wake up again at 4 a.m. for more meditation. So in this experience, I went from having maybe sometimes a 15 minutes a day meditation practice to meditating and chanting for 5 to 7 hours a day. And yeah, it was quite a shock to the system. At this time, I still had quite inflexible hips, quite a hunched over back from my Western life up until that point. And so it was quite a shock to my system. I managed to make it to every single one of the meditations except for one, which I slept in for on the first full day that I was there. And it was super powerful. It awakened some understandings in myself and of myself. I noticed that up until that point, I was unaware that there was kind of three commentaries running in my mind constantly, constantly commenting on things, constantly judging. And I noticed that the common thread behind a lot of these thoughts, well, I'll be honest, all of these thoughts could be boiled down to a certain self-interest, even when I was thinking about caring about other people, because I consider myself a very caring person. The core of that thought still eventually came around to what it meant for me. And so this was very confronting to be exposed to this clarity on kind of a deep selfishness that underlay all of my selfless actions. So it was a huge awakening, as you can, I'm sure, imagine. And I went forth from this experience feeling like a completely changed person, completely purified. I had deep conversations with the monks. I understood myself better. And I went into the world and I stopped drinking. I spent the rest of my time in Thailand without touching another drop of alcohol, which for me was huge. I was an alcoholic when I went to the temple. And it completely changed the game for me. Now, the trouble is that I left that experience with a giant spiritual ego. And I had the impression that these changes would last. And this was just the new version of Ryan that was going out into the world, and that my whole life would change. And it changed for a little while, but you know what? It wasn't very long until I started slipping back into my old patterns. It wasn't very long until I started drinking a little bit again. It wasn't very long until I started smoking weed again. And it wasn't very long before I got back with one of my probably most turbulent ex-girlfriends and had the most turbulent experiences of my life, where I went the deepest into my shadow that I had ever gone, and ended up being completely broken by those experiences, completely destroyed, devastated, seeing sides of myself that I didn't even know were there, that were darker than anything that I'd seen before, acting in ways that were unbelievably toxic, and just putting myself into situations that were incredibly dangerous. To name a few, getting stuck in the streets in Latin America and almost getting stabbed. A number of other things that I put myself into during that time. And I went back home, went back to Australia after this experience, completely shattered. Went into a relationship that I had had in Australia and completely shattered, couldn't even do it. And so that's what informed my decision to go to India, where I met the tantric school that I ended up moving into the ashram of. And it was completely, one of the most dark periods of my life. Why am I sharing this? Well, the lesson for me in this is very, very clear. I had a peak experience, the highest peak experience of my life up until that point. And yet when I left, I didn't continue any of those practices really. Maybe I still did a little bit of meditation here or there, but I wasn't having it as a daily practice. And so we can only move forward or backwards. There's no staying still in life. We either move towards the person that we want to be, or we're moving away from the person we want to be and falling into our bad habits and our darkness. And this is just, it seems to be a mechanic of life. And what this really taught me was the importance of the daily practice, peak experiences are not enough. Peak experiences are enough to give us a wake-up call, but they are not enough for us to transform, to crystallize that transformation, and to continue to show up as the person we want to be. Thank you for listening.